Good morning, everyone. Sorry we couldn't get this video out on Friday. Sam was teaching a workshop here on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, amazing workshop from Sam. Injuries and Pathologies, actually a certificate course. And sold out. Incredible teaching, incredible group. Love that program. Great job, Sam. Keep it up. I know in South Africa you'll be teaching it. It's also to a sold out group. So congratulations on the success. The first question is from Sherry regarding the tabletop position versus bringing the knees in a little deeper. Sherry, as always, I can rely on you to ask great questions. Let's clarify that. So I've got Kristen here this morning. I took her away from her desk duties. She put on some clothing. That's the beauty about BASI. We wear many hats. I was actually a plumber this morning fixing a toilet, and now I'm doing some exercise, and then I'll be in a meeting in a few minutes. So Sherry asked about spine twist supine, 100 prep, as opposed to double leg stretch, single leg stretch, crisscross. Thank you, Sherry. So spine twist supine. We're in the true tabletop position. Now, true tabletop means 90 degrees in the hip joint, 90 degrees in the knee joint, ideally in a neutral spine position, but if someone has a tendency to be hyperlordotic, I'm absolutely fine with them imprinting the lower back into the mat, which will invariably lead to a slight, ever so slight in some people, posterior tilt of the pelvis. That's fine until people can hold this true neutral. So I would bring the legs in just slightly, perfect, and she then comes over. Now ideally, she's traveling in the transverse plane, the movement is occurring in the spine, and in fact there are no changes in the hip joint. The fact you can see her starting to lift the feet, that often happens. So we'll just tell her to keep her legs down slightly. It often happens. Very hard to keep the legs absolutely still, the hip joint absolutely still, and in fact, the only thing that moves is the spine and the pelvis, of course, connected to the spine. Again, we're in that tabletop. I'm holding her legs still. She's in that tabletop. But Sherry, in this exercise, there's no movement in the hip joint. So the hip flexors are in an isometric state, isometric contraction. 100 prep, same thing. The legs stay here. The movement, take the arms a little lower if you can. Good. The movement is in the spine as she lifts up. The spine here will imprint, we spoke about that last time, into the mat, right, Inga? The lower back, the lumbar spine sinks into the mat, and then she rolls back. Exhale starts with the arms, the head follows, and then again she so beautifully does it, the arms lift, and then the head follows. So it's always the arms start the movement, the head follows, she reaches that beautiful position, maintains the height, and then continues down. But the legs are not moving. Contrary to the double leg stretch, put the hands on the knees. Here we don't want to, the classic was so deep that probably in the early years I overdid it by probably saying 90 degrees in the knee, in the hip joint. That's too far away. You want somewhere in between. You want it about there, which not quite 45 degrees, but certainly 70 to 80 degrees. So it's just beyond that 90. That allows you to really pull in with those hip flexors, use the arms to get a little more height. You can really use those arms, and then inhale as she reaches out, and exhale, pull in the legs, emphasizing that pull of the hip flexors. She does it really well. She uses those hip flexors to pull in, as opposed to pushing down with the hamstring. She uses her hip flexors. The legs just float, and inhale, feel those hip flexors pulling the legs in. You could start the pull of the legs a little sooner, Kristen, and reaching out and start that pulling in, not down, but in. Think of the knees pulling towards your forehead, and think of the knees pulling towards your forehead. Go, 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 go. And then go into single leg stretches. Again. Now here, I even caught myself on some pictures. When you look at yourself, there's a tendency to keep this leg a little high. You want this like that. It's actually, when you're looking at it, it appears a little lower. And inhale to change, and exhale, pull. And inhale to change, pull. And Kristen, not with your fingers, but with your whole hand. There. And I actually switch hands each time, so that you just get used to that switching. Yes. And she's going into a beautiful angle there. Hands behind the head. And let's go into the crisscross. Stop there. Crisscross. A little higher if you can. So Kristen is coming into this cold. Her lower back's a little tight. She tends to want to go into external rotation. Turn out, we of course want to avoid that. Keeping this leg there, and then changing. And so we can see Kristen tends to move just her head. And we want a little more movement from the trunk. So I'm going to come in to help her, and now go. Look, you're trying to rotate too far. Think more of flexion, less rotation. Even more flexion, less rotation. Let go of the rotation. Let's go to center. There, now get maximum height. Good. Now all it is a little, that's all we want. That's all we want. And then the other side. That's all we want. Yes. And that's all we want. Yes. And pulling that leg in. So if she stopped here, you're not getting that hip flexor and ab contraction to the maximum. Pulling a little deeper with the leg slightly. That's it. And you will feel it more by going that extra 1 or 2 degrees with the leg pulling in. Thank you. Did you feel it?
Yes.
So Kristen was making this very common mistake on the rotation, thinking too much rotation, not enough flexion. Give the priority to the flexion. Maximum flexion, and then just shifting it to the side. Nice, you did that really well. Beautiful work. I'm going to jump now to another question on the mat, which comes from Ashley. Ashley in South Africa, Ashley Ritchie, asked about the sore on the mat. Before I get to that, she asked about some of the testing. So, Kristen, I actually came to you with this question, I believe I did, about what are the requirements of the studios for testing out. In fact, each licensee area can set their own guidelines. However, at the end of the day, every BASI student must reach the same standard, the same level, we use the same faculty, very unique. In many other companies, licensee areas just have their own faculty, do what they want. No, we all adhere to the same standards because our faculty are the same group of people that are not only teaching, but often doing the testing. Saying that, what Kristen told me, I believe I came to you, didn't I, to discuss it. What Kristen told me is as long as, because Ashley asks about the fees, yes, of course, people have to pay their fees. Some countries may include the examination fees in the tuition. We don't, because we do centralized testing. But the main thing is that they've completed about half of their observation and student teaching hours before completed about half of their observation and student teaching hours before testing out. They can test out before they've finished all those requirements 100%. However, they will not get their certificate until they've completed all requirements. Even if they've passed the teaching evaluation, their practical exam, their written exam, but they may not have handed in a student paper. Or they may not have completed all their student teaching hours. They need to complete everything to get the certificate. But their test out is only one of the components, and they do not have to complete absolutely everything before they go for their test out. Is that correct? Thank you. I have Kristen right here sitting, confirming everything. So now let's get back to some of our other exercises. We're going to do the saw on the mat, and then we're going to do control, balance, and jackknife on the mat. Two difficult exercises. So the saw, if you could get into position and move just a little this way. So Ilan is filming us today. He's the cameraman, looking very enthusiastic and excited about seeing these exercises. So we added a nuance to this exercise, and in some way it makes it clearer, in some way a little harder to grasp, but beautiful when you see everyone doing it with the exact precision, exact timing. The first thing is that rotation. Remember, it's just the spine twist sitting. The second thing is the arms come into position, and Kristen's got a great position. I can't go as far as that. And some of us will be a little rounder here, but the main thing is keeping those back extensors working. She then immediately comes to the L position of the arms. This is what I mean by the L of the arms. T of the arms, and back to center. Those are the stages. So we twist. She goes forward. Comes to an L and center. So this L and center. The L to T is an and. So 1, 2, up and center. She does it beautifully. 1 and 2. Here you just want to square out those shoulders. So remember, we aren't looking for rotation here. We're just looking for square. She comes up and center. Just watch that. So Kristen has a little bit of tendency to hyperextend, slight. I don't get anywhere near her position, so I unfortunately don't have that problem. She's so flexible that she can overdo it. She gets that beautiful position, up and one more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Couldn't be better. Thank you, Kristen. Beautiful work. What are you doing sitting behind the desk all day? Okay. For those of you that don't know Kristen, some of you haven't met her, Kristen is the Student Affairs Coordinator. Every student, from the moment they register, in fact, before they register, they're usually calling up to speak to Kristen, get advice, get guidance. From the moment they register until their graduation, they are under Kristen's jurisdiction. Okay, so Satoko from Japan asked about control balance and the jackknife. Why is control balance under spinal articulation and the jackknife under bridging? I'm sorry, Satoko, it's actually a mistake. I don't know how that crept in that the jackknife was bridging. It's a mistake. Sorry, I apologize. I'm always ready to apologize. It's a mistake. It is being corrected in the new books. To all you faculty out there, you can make the correction in your movement analysis books that the jackknife should in fact be spinal articulation. If anything, control balance could be more of a bridging exercise. However, we also say control balance is spinal articulation due to the roll over and then the roll back. It's got the rollover in it. So let's go over both those exercises quickly. So, and these are tough for first thing in the morning, I know, but I'll help you. I'm with you. I just want to look at my notes quickly. Okay, so let's start with control balance. I will cue you. And Ilan, you may have to go to a wide angle. Can you see me can you still see me? Good. Kristen, move just a little bit that way. So I'm going to give Kristen a bit of assistance. It's early in the morning. I literally just pounced on her and said, I need a bottle. So bend your knees and stretch your legs up. She inhales. Here, of course, we've got this lovely exhale as she rolls over. And we flex the feet, bring the arms around. So now she's holding on to the feet. You can either hold the feet or you can hold here, either one. Take one leg, take your right leg up to the ceiling. That your right, yes, okay. So you can either, it depends on the length of your arm. My arms are really long for my body, so holding my feet isn't a problem. For some people, holding here is a better option. And then she gets this beautiful height here as she goes pull, pull, and then change, and then pull, pull, and change, and pull, pull, and change, and pull, pull, and change. Of course, what we're aiming for is this beautiful 90-degree angle or perpendicular to the floor with that leg, very hard to get. It also has a negative side, and that is it puts more pressure on the cervical spine, but depending on your hip flexor flexibility, and she certainly got it, she can come all the way up and change. Whoa, that's hard when I'm holding your pelvis. I realize that. Pull, pull, and pull, pull, and pull, pull. Thank you so much. So now jackknife is a different animal, right? So taking the arms down to the side, stretch the legs out. You inhale to 90 degrees. Exhale to do your rollover. Once the legs are parallel to the floor, you tip down and up. Easier than control balance because you have your arms to support you. And then you fold over, keeping the feet opposite the eyes, and then take it all the way down. Inhale, exhale as you roll over, down and up, reaching up. You can use me, Kristen. That's it. And then slowly down, articulating the spine and taking it down. So Toko, thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. Both exercises of spinal articulation. Great job, Kristen. Thank you so much. We're moving on from the mat. So Abby from Indonesia asked me to cue the short spine and the long spine. So we're going to go immediately into that. Thank you for asking that question, Abby. It's a really good one. So going from the frog, remember the first position is the frog. She pushes out all the way, goes into point, externally rotated, stays in external rotation, keeping the sacrum down as long as possible until she gets to the stopper. Now, of course, it's come up, and in fact, Kristen keeps it down very easily. Mine would come up further. It's not a matter of whether it stays down, it's a matter of the intention of keeping it down. Exhale as she rolls up onto her shoulders. Again, feel free to use your arms. Here, she bends the knees. The important thing here is keeping this little bit of pressure on the strap, and then using that, don't drop yet, Kristen. So in fact, quite the opposite. As the knees bend, you want to feel that the feet are pulling this way and the pelvis this way. So you stay nice and upright here. And then she rolls down, allowing the feet to drop towards the face as she gets that beautiful stretch, melting into the carriage, flexing the feet, and then brings the legs all the way over to exhale again. Inhale as she takes that stretch. Exhale, using that little bit, it's slight, you've only got a little bit of spring there. Keeping this height as you bend, using that little bit of spring tension. And then, what a lot of people do here is they don't allow the back to melt down and they take the feet with, no. You've got to allow the feet to sink towards your face and the spine to melt. Let's start it again. So pushing out, inhale as you come over, exhale as she goes up, getting this nice length here, bending the knees, inhale. Now here, watch how she does it so well. She allows the back to sink, she allows the knees to hug her chest here, flex your feet and go over. It's almost a matter of softening the knees a little. I don't speak too much of softening joints, but in this case, it's not straightening the knees, but it's allowing them to adapt to the change in position of the spine and the pelvis. And exhale as you push out, and inhale as you come over, and exhale, push against me. Yes, use me, use me, use me. Nice. Keeping the carriage still. Inhale as she bends. Exhale as she rolls down, flexing the feet and going over to there. Pausing in that position. A little bit about there. Nice. Okay, from here we go into our long spine. Pushing out, very different animal. This is the beginning position of the long spine. Inhale, she brings the legs to 90. Hope you can see that 90. Good. Keeping the carriage still, exhale as you articulate and roll up. And often I put my knees on the carriage for the first 1 or 2 repetitions to stabilize it for the person. And then inhale, open, and exhale as you go down. Once you reach, so I'm not going to help her this time. I want her to use her hamstrings more. And Kristen, you can go much higher than that. Use those hamstrings and bring it up. Inhale. Good. Exhale, go, go, go. Don't be shy. Go. You can get a little more. Use your hamstrings. That was it. She used the hamstrings, extended the hips more. It brought the pelvis higher. Now control it as you open, and then control it, control it, control it, control it. Pushing away with those hamstrings, extending the hips slightly, and around you go. That was really good. This time we're going to nail it. Inhale up to 90. Now you just overshot slightly. And exhale. I'm looking in a mirror opposite, so I can see, get the big picture. Get the big picture. Yes, don't be shy to use those arms. And slowly opening. And this is all in external rotation of the hip joint, turnout of the hip joint. Please remember that. We'll do one more with me standing out of the way in case she is blending into my clothing. And exhale. So it's a matter, Abby, of articulating the spine but using the hip extensors all the time. Inhale and exhale. Keep it, keep it, keep it, keep it. That was your best one yet. Anchor the sacrum. Don't rush that part. And then take the legs down and around. Lovely. Really nice. Good. We now go into the semicircle, or the semicircle. Semicircle. This is a question from Satoko, whether we do both directions or do just one direction and then the other in the mentor program. Satoko, that's what we used to do. We used to do one direction and then the other in the mentor program. We've decided now, just let's get the semicircle done, do it all in the comprehensive. So we do the semicircle in the comprehensive. By the way, the same goes for the long back stretch. These are exercises we used to teach the second direction in the mentor program. Let's just teach it in the comprehensive course. Good. So the way to get into the semicircle, I'm going to put her on one red spring. Personally, I like a little heavier. I work even 2 reds for me feels really good, a lot of shoulder work. But for ladies, definitely 1 red would be ample. Now, Kristen, drape your legs over there. Once your legs are there, you can lift your pelvis slightly and push. Good. Once she stabilized the shoulders, she now puts the feet up in the V position. gets the height even a little higher, Kristen. A little higher. Yes. Yes. You've got it. And don't open too wide. Lovely. The first direction is rolling down through the spine all the way to the spring. Remember, you want to feel that spring. And inhale as you go out just to about there. You stop. You've started coming up. We want to feel your pelvis on the spring. Exhale as you roll up. Holding that carriage still on the exhale. Inhale as you come in. Keep the pelvis lifting, lifting, lifting. And exhale as you roll down. Inhale. That's it. Exhale as you roll up, keeping that carriage still, pushing away. And inhale as you come in other direction. So she pushes out. A little further, stops about there. From here, holds the carriage still. Hold that carriage still. That's a great cue to hold that carriage still. All the way down to the spring. You want to feel that spring. Inhale. And exhale as you roll up. Oh, you could get even more articulation there. And inhale as you push out. Hold it. And exhale as she rolls down, all the way to that spring. Watch that the legs don't open too wide. Now, Kristen, I want you to deepen that curl. Oh, no. You started from there. She's starting from about the mid-lumbar. I want you to start right deep down in the pelvic bowl. That's it, that's it. Yes. Okay, that was a better one. Drape your legs over. Bring the carriage in. And that's the exercise. Amazing work, amazing work. Thank you. We're moving on now to the Wonder Chair and the Cadillac. Okay, so we've just got one question regarding the Wonder Chair. It's again from Satoko asking about the shrugs and what is an ideal setting. There's no ideal setting, but I will say you want it to be challenging. It shouldn't be light, it should be heavy. Remember, we're working the depressors of the scapula, the lower trapezius. That's the muscle that we're trying to target here. So I've got Kristen on a pretty heavy setting for her, 2-2, and she feels very comfortable. So she allows the spring to lift her. She works the muscles eccentrically and then concentrically as she goes down. So you want to feel challenged here and reach down. I would say 2-2 is challenging but good for Kristen. For myself, I would go 3-3, even 4-4. I know it's difficult to get down, but that's what you want to feel. You want to feel the stabilizers, particularly the depressors of the scapula, working hard. And exhale as you go down, and inhale, and exhale. And this is a great place to define where neutral scapula is. Between all the way down, between all the way up, you find that middle point, and that's where you're in neutral. Thank you, Kristen. I've got it. And you can bend your arms. And we're moving on to the Cadillac for our last question. Sinem from Turkey asked a really good question. Thank you, Sinem. About the side lift with the push-through bar on the Cadillac. That it's often referred to as a unilateral exercise, meaning we're only working one side. Sinem, you're correct. There's no doubt that we're working both sides to give us the ideal shape we're looking for. If we only work the upper side, the body would get too much curve. So there is control of the obliques on the opposite side, particularly in the beginning. We're looking for this nice position where there's co-contraction. Both sides are working. I would say it's dominant for the upper side, but it's true that we don't simply let go of the underside. Again, with BASI Systems equipment, this would be too heavy for her, so I adjust. We don't need to go down to one spring. we lighten the springs, and that's Jen teaching in the background. I thank Jen and her class for being so cooperative with us as we finish this exercise. So take the thumb around, Kristen. Let's give her a nice comfortable position of the legs. Yes. And so she's starting here. You can see how I can get my hand in there. She's working both sides. You know, good question. As you bend this elbow and push it through, and then bring it up. As it straightens, she lifts up. And if you can touch, it's not imperative. If that's as far as you get, that's absolutely fine. And then slowly down and bends and all the way through. So, take it through, take the elbow a little higher like that. Up, lifting up. Now, if she had to let go here, the ribs would fall out like this. So absolutely, there is work on both sides, but this is the dominant side. So theoretically, incorrect to say that it's a one-sided exercise. We are working both sides. It's not a unilateral, purely unilateral. Purely unilateral would be if you're just working one side and then the other side. Shoulder push, we're pushing with one side and the other side. Here, absolutely. To give us that shape we're looking for, to give us the control, we're working both sides with a dominance, a focus. The focus, the muscle focus is absolutely on this side. But to saying that, we don't want to take all focus away from the other side, because that side definitely needs attention. Do one more as we bring the bar through and bring it back. As it straightens, that's her cue to then lift up and then slowly down and all the way through, and this is where we'll end it. Thank you. I've got the bar. You can let go. And thank you all so much for your great questions. Keep it up. We're just taking the level and stand it up all the time. Thank you so much. Have a great week.